Yes, ma'am. There she is. This is the slowest one here. She's from Phoenix, that's why.
I want to thank you, not just coming from to Las Cruces, but I know you landed in El Paso. So you get to see the border, and I am from El Paso. My husband was the former mayor of El Paso, and he used to say that when Juarez sneezes, El Paso was catching a cold. So I want to thank you again, and my question deals with healthcare. My husband was diagnosed with a brain disorder, the same one that afflicted Senator Dominici. And at 51, he did not have long-term care. And it was so devastating that totally destroyed our finances. So I had to take him to my family's country home, which is Spain. I got to see firsthand how social care was so much affordable. He was a fighter. Although it undermined his muscle, he lost his voice, I was able to provide better care for him in another country than in our own. And so I want to know about your healthcare plan. How can it be affordable? How can we change that? Why did I have to take him someplace else so he could die in a better place than in his own country?
Thank you, and please accept the sympathy of all of us, and thank you for his service. I'm very grateful. There is a healthcare crisis in America. We would be, if it were not for the energy crisis, we'd be talking a lot more about healthcare issues. And we have to reform healthcare in America, and we have to make insurance available and affordable for all Americans. I do not believe that means a government-run healthcare system is the most efficient. We need to have policies that encourage home health care as opposed to institutionalized care, and we need to treat people on an outcome basis that don't pay for every test or every procedure, every visit to the doctor, but treat them for a period of time and then pay that provider. There's a program now for senior citizens that is not as wide as I'd like to see, where it's called cash and counseling, and seniors are given money every month, and then they're able to decide how they want to pay for their own health care. It's remarkable, the savings that have been realized. But in cases like your husband, where they're basically uninsurables, quote uninsurables, people with chronic diseases and such as the terrible affliction that befell your husband, and I know he appreciated your love and care, but we should have what we call government-approved plans so that we pool federal and state money together and establish wide risk pools so that there is affordable and available health insurance for people like you and your husband. We cannot leave the quote uninsurables or chronic disease victims without the access to care. And so it's going to have to be a federal and state combination, providing significant federal money from the federal government, and we are going to have that as a major part of health care reform, because we can't allow any American citizen to experience what your husband experienced. And I'm sorry that it happened. And I please accept my deep sympathy and our prayers. I thank you for his service. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Senator McCain, for coming. Also, we pray for you every day, my family and I, to make sure you're safe and secure in your health and everything. But also, I'd like to ask a question. My dad used to work for Earthlink, and now they've moved to India. So what would you do? What steps would you take to ensure that multinational companies would stay in America?
Well, thank you for bringing that up, because business taxes in America are 35%. They're the second highest in the world. Only the Japanese pay higher business taxes than we do. You know what the tax is in Ireland? It's had a booming economy, as you know, at least up until recently. 11%. So you own a business and you have the ability to go overseas or stay in the United States of America, what are you going to do? Obviously, that has taken businesses and jobs and jobs and jobs out of the United States of America. So I would reduce that tax immediately to 25% and even bring it lower as soon as we could, because it does mean that jobs need this. And again, I believe that the American worker is the most productive, the most innovative, and the best in the world. But if you own a business and you want to make a profit, because that's why we're in the capitalist business of capitalism, then, and you see a place where you can go, then I understand why you might. So we have to lower that tax in order to keep a more level playing field. And the business people I've talked to, they want to stay in the United States of America. They would rather stay here for a whole variety of reasons, not the least of which is patriotism, but also because of the productivity of the worker. But when they see these kinds of incentives, then obviously they have a tendency to leave. So I would reduce this business tax, and I would do it immediately. And by the way, that's another difference between myself and Senator Obama. Yes, sir.
Nice to meet you, sir. I'm Zach Quintero. On behalf of Boys Nation, which I just returned from a great program, I'm glad that the government sponsors that so much. I'm very thankful that we have systems like this that can promote youth understanding in our government. My question for you is, what are your plans for Social Security, since we're going to be swamped by the baby boomers very soon?
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to give you a little straight talk, and I'm sorry to have to do it, but you probably know it, otherwise you wouldn't ask the question. In its present fiscal status, Social Security will not be there in its present form as it is for retirees today. Is that right? Is that the right thing to do to this young man? People are working or paying into a system that they're not going to get the same benefits from as present-day retirees. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. And I want to tell you, as president, I'll call in the Democrats, or I'll go see them. I don't care. And Republicans, and we'll sit around the table and we'll say we'll fix Social Security. My friends, in 1983, a long time ago, Social Security was going broke. It was going broke. That's just a fact. And armed with a study by Alan Greenspan, President Reagan and Tip O'Neill, who was the liberal Democrat from Massachusetts, sat down together. They walked out together into the Rose Garden and said, we're going to fix Social Security. And they did for about 20 or 25 years. So what do we do now? Nothing. Nothing. We get into a big fight about private savings accounts and other aspects of the issue, when really what we should be doing is sitting down across the table and recognizing that our obligation is to you. Our obligation is to you. I'll give them all the credit. If they want all the credit when we fix it, fine, I'll give it to them. But the point is that Americans want us to work these things out. And once we work one of them out and get approval, by the way, did you notice lately the approval rating of Congress is at 9%? 9%. Now, anybody in that 9%, please raise your hands. But, you know, you get down that low, you get down to paid staffers and blood relatives. You don't get much lower than that. So I think that working together, Congress can regain some of that approval.